bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Ham in Washington, D.C. The Indian American community is speaking loud and clear in its choice for President of the United States. Meanwhile, could Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau be in the last throes of political power? We'll unpack all of it for you, but first, a look at the latest headlines. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris agrees to Republican nominee Donald Trump's conditions on having microphones muted when the other candidate is speaking. The September 10 debate will be the first verbal face-off between the vice president and the former commander-in-chief. Venezuela jails a U.S. sailor who was visiting the country on personal travel. The Pentagon says the detained soldier is a former operative of the Navy SEAL Special Forces. This as Nicolas Maduro accuses the U.S. of trying to overthrow his government. German police shoot and kill a suspicious person near a Nazi documentation center close to the Israeli consulate in Munich. Law enforcement officials say the suspect was openly carrying a firearm. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi receives a ceremonial welcome from Singapore's parliament on the second day of his official visit. The two Asian countries signed multiple strategic agreements in areas of artificial intelligence, healthcare, and semiconductors. And phase 2 of the polio vaccination drive continues in Gaza amid Israeli airstrikes. UN officials say only 1/3 of about 640,000 Palestinian children under the age of 5 have received their first dose. We begin in the United States. President Joe Biden's administration has announced wide-ranging actions targeting Russia's efforts to manipulate public opinion ahead of the 2024 presidential election. The U.S. Justice Department has criminally charged 2 employees of the Russian state media network RT over a scheme to hire an American company to produce online content to meddle in the upcoming U.S. election. Washington has also sanctioned 10 individuals and entities, as well as seized 32 internet domains allegedly used for maligning the presidential campaigns on directions of Moscow.
The American people are entitled to know when a foreign power is attempting to exploit our country's free exchange of ideas in order to send around its own propaganda. We allege that as part of that effort, RT and its employees, including the defendants, implemented a nearly $10 million scheme to fund and direct a Tennessee-based company to publish and disseminate content deemed favorable to the Russian government.
Attorney General Merrick Garland said 3 Russian companies used fake profiles to promote false narratives on social media. He revealed that an internal planning document by the Kremlin states that the goal of Russian propaganda is securing its preferred outcome in November, which is a Republican victory. Documents submitted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation show Russian companies hiring individuals to promote Donald Trump and the Republicans on social media platforms.
As alleged in our court filings, President Vladimir Putin's inner circle, including Sergei Kirilnikov, directed Russian public relations companies to promote disinformation and state-sponsored narratives as part of a program to influence the 2024 U.S. presidential election.
Now, speaking on the accusations and charges, Vladimir Putin said Russia prefers the Democrats and would like to see Kamala Harris replace Joe Biden as president.
As for the favorites, there is no need to define that. It's a choice by the people of America in the end. I've said that our so-to-say favorite was the acting president, Mr. Biden. He's been taken out the race, but he advised all his supporters to support Mrs. Harris. That's what we'll do. We'll support her as well. That's the first thing. Secondly, her laugh is so expressive and infections. That means that she's doing well.
Meanwhile, the White House says Russia remains a primary threat to the U.S. election, even as authorities investigate a hack by Iran of Donald Trump's campaign.
I mean, obviously people can have their own views about whether they're surprised or not that Russia might be trying to interfere in our election, but we're not taking it lightly. Nobody's shrugging here because it's that important. It's that important to convey to the American people that we are taking the safety and security of our electoral process seriously. So nobody's shrugging about it, and we're going to constantly monitor, as I said, these threats, be able to thwart them when we see them, and identify and hold the actors accountable.
Now, American authorities also say that Russian disinformation networks amplify polarizing political topics such as immigration, crime, and the war in Gaza. The U.S. electorate has been warned against trusting and sharing electoral news on the internet that has not been verified, as it could lead to promoting Russian propaganda. And staying in the United States, prominent members of the Indian community have launched a campaign called Indian Americans for Harris and are rallying behind the Democrat in hopes of creating history. Born in Oakland, California, Kamala Harris is the first woman of Black and Indian heritage who has a chance of being the first woman president of the United States. Now, the Indian American community remains a vital demographic in the November 5th election. The Indian community has an annual average household income of over $119,000, the highest among all ethnic groups. Indian Americans also lead other demographic groups in education, with almost 40% of the population having a postgraduate degree and 30% having an undergraduate degree. In terms of occupation, Indian Americans make up almost 70% of professional and administrative roles, with almost 10% of all doctors being Indian. Now, Indian Americans are endorsing Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris, underscoring her alignment with the community's aspirations for an inclusive America.
I love her. I am so glad to see a presidential nominee who is youthful and joyful, and I think that reflects right back onto the Democrats, and I am so excited to be able to vote for her. My first time voting in a presidential election, and I could not be happier. She's half Indian, and I come from Indian immigrants. My parents are Indian immigrants, and so to be able to be a delegate for the first women nominee who is of Indian descent is the biggest honor of my life, probably.
Meanwhile, Usha Vance, an Indian American lawyer too, was born in California and is also involved in the election as the wife of Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, who is Donald Trump's running mate. However, Usha Vance's presence on the Trump campaign has failed to attract much Indian American support for the GOP. Since her husband was picked as Trump's running mate, Usha Vance has rarely been active and has only delivered one 4-minute speech, which was then subjected to online racism and hate. Several Indian American community members say they are proud of Usha Vance's connection to the Hindu community, but are perplexed with the Republican Party's lack of support for her. Meanwhile, the Indian Americans for Harris campaign is rallying members of the community to vote for the Democrat in critical swing states, including North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. New polls from the key battleground states show a close race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, with the Republican taking a slight lead in North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. The final outcome is expected to come down to a razor-thin margin, and the Indian American community support could play a deciding factor in who gets elected to the White House. And now north of the border, where Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is facing a major political setback after a key ally of his minority government pulled its support ahead of the general election next year. In an online video, New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh said that Liberals failed to take on the Conservative opposition. Singh expressed his growing frustration with the Prime Minister's Liberal Party, adding it was too weak and selfish to fight for Canadians.
Today, I notified the Prime Minister that I've ripped up the Supply and Confidence Agreement. Canadians are fighting a battle for the future of the middle class. Justin Trudeau has proven again and again he will always cave to corporate greed. The Liberals have let people down they don't deserve.
The NDP leader further said he would run for Prime Minister in 2025 and restore hope in Canada.
I'm running for Prime Minister because together we can and will stop conservative cuts. We can deliver relief and restore hope, fix healthcare, build homes you can afford, stop price gouging. It's always impossible until it isn't. It can't be done until someone does it. If we're together, nothing is impossible, and we won't let them tell us it can't be done. Big corporations and wealthy CEOs have had their government. It's the people's time.
Now the two parties struck a deal in 2022 to keep Prime Minister Trudeau in power until mid-2025 in exchange for more social spending. Prime Minister Trudeau has reacted to Singh's surprise announcement, saying he will not indulge in politics and will focus on tackling the country's high inflation and housing crisis.
Not focused on politics. I'll let other parties focus on politics. I'm focused on actually delivering the things that Canadians told me this summer they need. I had thousands of conversations with people across the country. Very few of them wanted to talk politics. They wanted to talk how are they going to make sure that they can afford their rent as they get back to school in the fall. How they're going to be able to hope to one day be able to own a home.
Now, to be clear, Singh pulling his support for the Prime Minister does not mean a snap election is imminent. However, it could force Canada to go to the polls before the scheduled election date next year. In fact, a no confidence vote could be on the table soon, and Prime Minister Trudeau would have to find other support in Parliament to survive the floor test. Canada's lower house of Parliament currently has 154 Liberals, 119 Conservatives, and 24 NDP members. And so far, opinion polls have shown the Conservatives well ahead of the Liberals, with 43% against, while 21% in favor of Liberals. Grappling with a major affordability crisis, it seems like Canadians are looking for new leadership as Prime Minister Trudeau completes almost 10 years in power. And moving to South America, where an unexpected currency war is taking place in Argentina. A province is said to be so cash-strapped that it's been forced to create its own currency named the Chacho just to keep the local economy going. But how does this bold move play with President Javier Milei's announcing more fiscal cuts, or what he calls shock therapy? Here's our report with more on the fiscal crisis.
In the remote province of La Rioja, Argentina, a bold financial experiment is unfolding. La Rioja is one of the country's poorest regions, perched on the red clay highlands near the Chilean border. And it has been hit hard by the shock economic policies of President Javier Milei, designed to tackle Argentina's chronic inflation. So when Milei slashed the cash transfers from the federal government, La Rioja found itself bankrupt, unable to meet its financial obligations. And by February, the province defaulted, plunging into deep recession. The governor of the La Rioja province, Ricardo Quintela, a vocal critic of the Argentina president, devised an audacious solution. He created La Rioja's own currency, the Chacho, which is named after a local historical figure, Angel Vicente Chacho Peñalosa. The Chachos, printed in denominations from 1,000 to 50,000, were handed out to government employees, giving them a little extra to buy essentials. The province's governor framed it as bonus payment designed to boost the struggling local economy. 1 Chacho equals 1 peso, and although businesses aren't forced to accept it, they are strongly encouraged to do so. So when the currency was rolled out, several government officials rushed to collect their 50,000 Chachos, equivalent to just $40. For people in La Rioja, where the average monthly salary is only $240, this was a significant amount. However, the Chacho has limitations. Some businesses are hesitant to accept too many of them, fearing they'll be stuck with worthless paper. Though the governor has assured businesses that they can exchange Chachos for pesos, the process has been slow, with some entrepreneurs comparing La Rioja to Venezuela, where similar measures were once used during a period of economic crisis. But despite its challenges, the Chacho has made its place. Each bill carries an image of Chacho Peñalosa, a symbol of defiance against Buenos Aires, and a QR code that, when scanned, displays a message criticizing the Milei administration for cutting off federal funds. So far, 3 billion Chachos worth about $3 million have been issued, with plans to print 6 billion more. So whether the Chacho proves a long-term solution or just a temporary fix, it remains to be seen. But for now, it is giving La Rioja a lifeline in a time of financial desperation.
And finally, in Russia, Vladimir Putin has set his sights on a new battle, the fight against aging. As part of an urgent directive, Russia's health ministry has been tasked with saving 175,000 lives in the next 6 years through cutting-edge anti-aging research. From slowing cellular decline to bioprinting technologies, the plan is bold, but scientists are baffled by the sudden pressure to deliver. One has to wonder if Putin is attempting to stop the clock of Father Time. Our final report explains.
Apart from Russia's ongoing war with Ukraine, President Vladimir Putin has another mission in mind: a battle against aging. In a surprising move, the Russian president has directed the country's top scientists to urgently develop treatments that could extend life and counter the nation's declining life expectancy. The push came through a June directive from the Health Ministry tasking research institutes with proposals to save 175,000 lives by 2030. And since then, the abruptness of this order has sent shockwaves through Russia's medical research community. The plan focuses on slowing cellular aging, preventing cognitive decline, and correcting the immune system. It also involves using bioprinting for advanced medical interventions, leaving many experts in disbelief. One Russian doctor, stunned by the suddenness of the mandate, remarked, "It felt like the letter had just arrived today and the deadline was yesterday." The doctor added that normally such ambitious national projects are preceded by months of meetings and public discussions, but this one dropped out of the blue. Tatyana Golikova, who is Russia's deputy prime minister, introduced the initiative during the Rossiya exhibition in Moscow. During the announcement, she tied the initiative to the national goal of improving longevity. But the urgency amid the ongoing war and other national issues puzzled many. A researcher quipped, "Right in the middle of the war, we're supposed to drop everything and save the elderly. The level of cynicism is baffling." Further adding to the challenges is the massive financial burden. Developing anti-aging treatments could cost billions, something the country may struggle to fund during these turbulent times. Mikhail Kovalchuk, a close ally of Putin and head of the Kurchatov Institute, has been one of the most enthusiastic advocates for the anti-aging program. Known for his dreams of eternal life and a Russian genome, Kovalchuk's influence has shaped the initiative, with a Kremlin insider noting, "He raves about it constantly." The urgency behind the project is also rooted in the troubling statistics from Russia's Federal State Statistics Service, which revealed a drop in the country's average life expectancy to 73.24 years between July 2023 and June 2024. And with these numbers in mind, Putin's government is keen to act fast. So whether this rapid-fire initiative will succeed in slowing the clock remains to be seen. But it certainly reflects Putin's broader vision: to bolster Russian innovation and improve the health of the nation, even in the face of uncertainty.
That's our show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
Kamala, you're fired.
I say, bring it on.
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.
Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. My name is Utsav Parekh.